Okay, welcome to the IERG Boston chapter presenting landing board seats with Mike Lorelli. My name's Jay Galasso. I am the chapter chair for the Boston area, and we're very happy to have Mike with us today. Before we get going, I'd like to bring up a couple of housekeeping items and just talk a little bit about the program today and also IERG in general. So to get the most out of the presentation, make sure that you've selected the screen and speaker view in your Zoom control. That'll make sure that you're seeing the slides in the largest format. Keep your camera on. We like to see everybody's faces there, but make sure that you're muted yourself with your microphone. That way we can hear Mike and we won't be disrupted by others. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a question and answer time period, and you can send your questions either directly to me or to everyone so that they can see the questions using the chat function built into Zoom. And you can select that chat window. If you look at the bottom of your screen, move your cursor over, you should see a little thought bubble with chat next to it. And any technical questions, should you run into any challenges while we're here on the webinar, you can send them to Ruth Bardos. She is online in the chat session, and she can help you with any kind of issues you might be having. So today's agenda, we're going to, briefly have an introduction to the IERG organization, and then have the presentation by Mike. We're going to leave at least 10 minutes for questions and answers at the end of the session, and then we'll be wrapping up as scheduled at about 1 o'clock. So just a little bit about IERG, the International Executive Resources Group. It was founded in 1997, and it's a global nonprofit professional organization for executives that have lived and worked outside of their home countries at senior levels for an extended period of time, long enough to realize that the world is a big place. There's a lot of different cultures and a lot of different ways of getting things done. And we are a group of like-minded individuals that have this diverse business experience and experience with cultures around the world. And we celebrate these differences and learn to enrich our talents and knowledge, help build our global contacts, expand our base of referrals, and grow our professional opportunities by membership in the IERG. So if you're interested, if you're not currently a member, but you're interested in finding out more, you can contact Ruth, or myself. I'd be happy to, let you know any information. You can also go to our website, which is iergonline.com. And just a couple of upcoming events to keep on your schedule. We've got in April 12th, the political landscape for the 2024 election, and John Zogby from our Connecticut chapter is going to be speaking on that. We pick calm, non-controversial topics, to talk about here. So that'll be an interesting one. And then in October 9th, we have another scheduled webinar, the Armageddon election, what's likely to happen and not happen after November 5th. So, hopefully we have some other things in between that might even be lighter topics to deal with. We'll see. But we have some interesting things happening this year. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Mike Lorelli. Today's presentation is called Landing Board Seats, and you can see from the screen that we have up there already. But Mike has a very interesting and rich background. He was CEO at two different PepsiCo divisions. He has been a private equity CEO for 5 different private equity assignments. He has been on the boards of 3 publicly held companies and chaired all 3 compensation committees there. He's also served on 7 private boards. Mike is a master's level certified in both the National Association of Corporate Directors and the American College of Corporate Directors. Today, he serves on 3 boards, and through his consulting practice, Faster Landings, he runs individual programs to help senior executives gain board seats. Mike has been a longtime supporter and member of IERG going back to its founding in 1997, and he presents on his private equity and board experiences to our members. So with that, let's welcome Mike. And Mike, take it away.
Okay, great. Jay, that was very, very flattering. And thank you very much. And very inclusive about all of the great things about IERG. So the one conceited thing I will say is I was probably employee number 11 at IERG when it was started in 1997. And I've stayed in touch ever since. I like giving my webinars twice a year. I give this one, I give another one called Navigating Private Equity. And they're a lot of fun for me. And I feel very, enriched that I'm able to contribute, hopefully, something to the members. So Jay and I are going to have a lot of fun with you all today. We're going to go through this real fast, take notes. Ruth, will these notes be published via a PowerPoint, or what will we do there?
The recording will be in the member section of IERG. So if you'd like to go back and see that, you certainly can.
Okay, good. All right, so that helps. So I'm not going to bore you about me. I do want to talk about the relative size of board buckets, as I call them. What the materials look like, what the go-to-marketing approach looks like, what the size of the bucket is, etc. But I'm also going to race through this because everybody on this call is busy. Now, the first thing I tell people who have an occasion to interview with a private equity firm, let's say it's for a board seat, is you need to understand that they do not speak English. Private equity people do not speak English. All they speak is about profit and private equity. So if someone were to say to you, Johnny, tell me about yourself, and you might say, wow, I'm an action-oriented guy, 21 years of experience leading XYZ, aren't I terrific? And you'd feel very good, and rightfully so. The private equity person's interpretation, on the other hand, would be, ugh, this is a 21-year-old old FART. We want to exit this company in 4 years, 7 years max. Please get this Rip Van Winkle out of my sight. He takes 10 years to figure out what an Amazon or Google person can get done in just a couple. On the other hand, same individual, same resume. If he said, I'm a fortune-trained leader that's made a step change in the EBITDA CAGR in every one of my assignments, if that same person, same resume said that, the interpretation would be, here comes my bonus, Congress, please don't carry tax carried interest. This is our person. So you got to keep that in mind as you're answering questions. Now, private equity, most people don't realize, has really exploded going back to 1977, when Colbert, Kravitz, and Roberts left Bear Stearns and formed KKR. And that became the beginnings of leveraged buyouts, as we were called back then. Today, there's almost 3,000, 4,000 rather, around the world. And the reason why people give us money to go invest is because our asset performance is terrific. you can look at the slide. Types of boards, you all know this. I'm not going to repeat it. Public, private, private equity, advisory, nonprofit. Now, I have a very strong bias toward private equity, and it's because of the relative size of the buckets and the ease of which to gain entry. So let me take those apart one by one. There was a Wall Street Journal article 4 years ago that cited the fact that there were only 3,600 public companies left in the US with over 3,600 companies, in their scale. Now, that is so flip-flop that's unbelievable, because every day you pick up the Wall Street Journal, column A, page 1, company A bought company B, there's one less board. On the other hand, private equity is exactly the inverse. Another private equity company got started. So when you look at the relative size of the dimensions, or the dynamics that are going on in terms of imploding or exploding, private equity really has the game. Some stats, I'm going to put some on the slide here. I don't like putting these on the slides because I've seen the published reports from Heidrick and Struggles, Russ Reynolds, KKR, and they all are so different over the mat. There's just no way to reconcile it all. But some demographics that I hope would be interesting for this audience. Most people think you've got to be retired, over the hill, all that stuff. Not true. Half are retired, half are still working for a living. This next one really just pisses me off. As recently as 11 years ago, only 11% of private equity independent directors, were women. Now, the American marketplace has woken up and is really trying very hard, diligently, to fix this to the point where this stat has changed significantly. I personally will not be happy until it's 50-50. And I'm going to use the word messaging several times here. And when I say messaging, I mean your resume, your bio, your value proposition, your email letters or snail mail letters, your compelling proposition. So let's just take these apart one by one. LinkedIn is probably the single most important device you have. It is unbelievably under-recognized for its recognition. I was an operating partner at Falconhead Capital for 6 years, and I will tell you, in the 6 years, probably 90% of the openings we had, CEO or C-level, we found the person on LinkedIn, not by using a recruiter. So my point here is only to encourage everybody, take serious attention to your LinkedIn profile. Now, you got to keep in mind that there are 7,200, companies out there scouring LinkedIn profiles. You want to be in the killer tier. You want to be in the top 1 to 70, not the top 1 to 700. Certainly not the above average, bottom of the list. You're just never going to be found. Now, I want to spend a second on graphics. This is LinkedIn's own publication. According to LinkedIn, profiles that include a professional headshot receive 21 more times profiles, than ones that do not. So the point of the story is, have a good headshot, have it professionally done. Okay. Now, in my own analysis, and I've spent a lot of time, I was one of the earliest adopters of LinkedIn 22 years ago. In my earliest experiences, I figured out that the traction got greatest if there was a great headshot. And a lot of people ignore that or just have a sloppy headshot or a picture of them with their dog in front of the rifle tower and with a bag of popcorn. Forget about it. You're not going to be recruited as a C member person. 2 profiles, 2 key points to the profile. 80% of the traction comes down to getting your prime pieces of your real estate right, what you do for a living, and several things that talk about your profile. So let me take these apart one by one. On the several parts of the profile, you want to highlight only key things you've done so you don't junk it up with a lot of garble. In my own case, my headline, which is here, says accredited outside director, independent director, landing board seats coach. Those are the 3 places that Mike plays. Now, a couple of fun notes on resumes. Seasoned is a bad word. I see it too many times. I almost regurgitate when I see it because the word seasoned applies to dead meat that's about to be cooked. I don't think that's the way you want to imply yourself. You want to imply speed. You do things 7 times longer than anybody else. Resume, and you don't need 2 resumes, you only need 1. 1 resume can serve both purposes, your basic needs, meaning looking for a day job, or your LinkedIn profile. Both can be done if correctly constructed. Several points that are particularly important today. Setting CEO will always help, but it's not critical. If you have the capability to be on a committee, an audit committee in particular, you will be in very, very high demand. Diversity candidates today, rightfully off the chart, absolutely terrific. Hot skills, cybersecurity, risk, international experience, social media, and today, AI rather. Getting on that first board, people say, Mike, I'm struggling. I just can't find a first one to get on. Well, don't shoot too high. Don't shoot to be, on the board of American Express, or a Marriott or some such. But if you have a choice of several nonprofits to participate on, I would say that shoot for the larger, more nationally recognized names. This was a very interesting page from the 2021 manual of NACD's handbook, where they actually say that board members that have no board experience, and this is their first board experience, that actually is a form of diversity. I found that line very interesting. Muscle building your credentials. There are groups that will train you, educate you. They're largely nonprofit, other than one, will help you get up to speed on your board credentials and your board speak. They are worth their weight in time. And they give you, various status betting on how many credits you've achieved with them. And they give you fancy language, that goes in the board book, and this is kind of cool too. And this is where a lot of recruiters pick up their potential board candidates. Value proposition. You need to be able to succinctly say why they should want you on their board. Your wanting to be on boards is of 0 value to them, and it's a very selfish proposition. You want to be able to succinctly state why the board would benefit by having you. So as an example, I interviewed to go on the board of Rita's Italian Ices. And when I had the natural opening in the conversation, I would say, I could bring a broad cross-section of skills and perspectives from my fortune background, my leadership roles in smaller, limited resource companies, my exceptional ability to coach, and my governance accreditation at NACD. That's what I would say. I would find the 2 minutes in the conversation to sneak those words on. So that's what I mean by developing your value proposition. When I hear from clients who have limited board seats, if they haven't volunteered to me, I always ask, what happened? How did you land? How do you think you edged out the other candidates? And I would say that going to market is a very important thing to do. You got to let people know that you're interested in board seats. You got to let board members know, people on executive committees know, any other people who you think may be in the mainstream of hearing about a board seat. How are we doing on time, Jay, here, by the way?
Sorry,
Good.
I was muted. Yeah, we're doing well, Mike.
Good. Now, when I say go to market and let all the right people know that you're available for board seats, the audiences I include in that description are peer CEOs, C-suite executives, everybody you know is on a board, all the law firms you've engaged. These people are always hearing about board openings, okay? Your audit firm, your personal accountants, all the recruiters you've interacted with over the years, all these people belong on this list of phone calls that you should make. Now, as this pitch book gets pushed out, I've listed here the top 9 PE firms, that is, the biggest of the second tier, 20 to 25, the biggest of the biggest, 16 to 25. These are all terrific targets. Don't ignore the small ones. Don't be bashful. Don't be afraid of saying, listen, he and I haven't worked together in 10 years. We haven't spoken together in 9 years. I'm kind of checking in on him. And the simplest thing is to say something very simple like, hey, Jim, I know it's been 5 years since we've caught up. Hope you're still doing well. Well, the reason for my selfish call is that I'm making a concerted effort to get on a couple of good boards. I know you're the kind of person who from time to time might hear about those kinds of situations. I would be flattered if you threw my name in. And then follow that email up, follow that phone call up with an email that attaches your bio, hoping that he might save it. A good email looks like this. I'm not going to walk through it. It's self-explanatory. Short, sweet, to the point, bulletized. Don't make me look like I got to read a 20-page novel. Now, this is the other list of firms, the bigger ones, the Carlyles, the General Atlantics, the CPGs. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to these people, but I would say you got to acknowledge that your odds are low. Odds are if they're looking to buy Chrysler or General Motors, insurance corporation, they've already got their person lined up. So I would say spend your time on these, the smaller and mid-sized firms, not the larger ones. Okay. Another technique that's fun is to do a skills map. Construct a map of the skills you think that company needs to be successful in the marketplace. List on that in that Excel sheet the people who are either board members or VPs that have those skills, so you can kind of get a good snapshot of where they've got their bases covered. And you can see in the light yellow, in this particular case, I've listed myself. Then on the second page, oops, here we go. You can jot in your own name as somebody that can help them fill that gap in their marketplace need. Okay, questions. Have answers to these questions concise, to the point, get right to it. So if someone hits you with one of these, you can answer. As an example, the second to the last line, what committee are you best suited, least suited for? In my own case, I say, you know what? I understand three things. Number one, service to the Queen, Sally, the CEO. If she wants me on the audit committee, I'm happy to do that, even though I'm a little audit light. On the other hand, I have exhaustive experience in the quantitative side, in the numerical side, the compensation side. I would be perfectly fitted and fitted. In fact, I would be very, very comfortable being an audit committee chair. Now, I like this list of questions better. And I'm going to just click through these. Okay. And there's some very good questions here. Can you disagree without being disagreeable? Boy, the perfect place to demonstrate this, is in the interview. But at the end of the day, the board is looking for three things. Do they like you? Do they feel they can trust you? Do they feel that you're someone who is dependable? So if they give you a committee assignment, you'll come back to the next board meeting and have that completed. Publicity always matters and helps. Whenever I get asked to author an article, and I've written a lot for NACD or to give panel speeches and the like, all these are good things because odds are there's a fair amount of people in the audience that'll be taking down names of potential candidates. People ask me about these board portals that ping you $500 up front to do your setup, $99 a month. I have been doing this now for 17 years as a hobby. I have yet to hear from one client a landing from one of these board portals. So I'm not saying no, I'm saying your odds are very low. There are lots of these board sites out there. They're all interesting to take a look at. People ask me, how many boards can you be on before you're unmanageable? And my answer is, since age 36, I have been on average 3 boards. That's right up and through, including today. Now, obviously, there's 3 different companies over the years, but I'm able to do this because I put up screens. A screen to me is something like, I'm not going to do the West Coast because it'll kill me a whole day to get there to attend a 2/3 day meeting and to spend a whole day coming back. So I don't do West Coast boards. I don't do startups boards. The failure rate is too high. There'll be too many conference calls on the weekends and the like. So if you develop a good set of screens, that's a very helpful way for you to figure out if you've got more than 1 or 2 or even 3 opportunities to go on boards, how to winnow it down. This is a good slide to keep. So I'm hoping that Jay does push this out. It shows compensation, and I will tell you, there are 2 reasons why I have found board membership very rewarding in my lifetime. Number one is it's great intellectual engagement out of my own sandbox. That's a lot of fun. The second thing is, and the compensation is pretty good. And the compensation is basically covered two of my hobbies. One is private aviation. The second is my significant other. So there's nothing light to be made of that. Put independent director on your board card. If you give this to somebody and they say, well, what board are you on? Or what boards are you on? Your simple answer should be something like, that's exactly the point. I'm buckling down at this point in my life where I want to get down on two very serious boards. If you hear of one, I would appreciate and be flattered if you threw my name in. And there we go, Jay. AI, let me cover AI. Not a lot of people in this audience probably know a fair amount about AI. I do because I've been studying it very heavily. But I love this quote from Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs' partner, who said, after years of intense study, the engineers figured out it is possible to make a brain. The engineers figured out, though, it takes it takes years, 9 months, 9 months, if not even longer, to make that brain possible. So, Jay, that's what we have. We have time for whatever you want to do.
Yeah, great. So if you would like to submit a question, you can do that using the chat feature of Zoom. You can find that if you're not familiar with it at the bottom of your screen. If you move your cursor over there, you should see that. Anyone else? So we have somebody congratulating Ruth on setting this up. And we will have the slides and the recording will be available on the website within the members section. It should be up in about 3 business days. So early next week, probably. Anybody have any questions? Here we go. Diana is asking, are there certifications for advisory board positions that are different than for other types of board positions?
I would say they're almost all the same. So simply to be able to state that you've gone for your credentialing with one of these organizations is good enough. Now, as fast as I say that, I want to add here that simply being connected with me or someone like Jay, simply being connected via LinkedIn raises your profile when people do queries. In other words, if people goes in and does a query, someone goes in and does a query, and it's a consumer company, and it says consumer electronics, professional experience, high quantitative skills, good board exposure. If someone goes in and does a query like that and puts in words like that, if you have those same adjectives yourself and you are part of that query, you will raise up in the rankings simply being part of my profile. So I would say the best and fastest thing everybody on this call could do is go into LinkedIn, here's my credentials, and request a LinkedIn with me. I will readily accept it. Put in IERG in the headline. That way I'll know it's from you and I won't ignore it.
Very good. Well, we have another question from Sylvia. What is the best way to approach a board opportunity as a quote intern or observer who just provides good advice for free, so you can at least get started with a first-time opportunity?
Yeah, I would use language like, I'm new to this board work. Having said that, because I am new, I ask a lot of stupid questions. I would seriously consider being that blunt. Because I'm new to this board work, I have a habit of asking a lot of new and potentially stupid questions. I'd be happy to be part of the pool that's trying to figure those out.
Very good. Looks like Diana is asking a follow-up question. Do any of the strategies that you've outlined here today, Mike, do they differ for an advisory board position?
Well, it's a matter of rank. Um, Advisory boards are non-fiduciary. They don't have the clout, they don't have the command. If you have a choice, I would go for a full board position. I would avoid the advisory. Although, if you're struggling to find your first board experience, advisory is a great first starting step.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Now's a good time to send them in.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. It will raise your rankings a lot. When people connect with me, the amount of connections they get when people are doing a LinkedIn query, rise geometrically. So don't overlook that very simple tip.
That's great. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, we got to thank you. So it sounds like, unless somebody has a hand raised or anything, I don't see anything. Sounds like we're probably about ready to wrap up. But Mike, it was great. I think the years of experience of you not only working with private equity and sitting on boards, but also helping people find their way to board seats. It was very valuable, and I think you got that across in a record amount of time. That was very, very swift and to the point. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Ruth, for handling all the administrivia here, and Jay for your commitment to IERG.
All right, thank you. Well, everybody have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you soon and another one of these pretty soon. Thanks again.